All markets are intercorrelated and interconnected, and something that you should keep your eye on is open interest. As open interest comes up, we expect the price to come up, and as it falls, we expect the price to fall. We're starting to see a sustained turnaround in open interest. Will this continue into the future? Let's have a look and let's run the numbers. There's a lot happening inside financial markets. Yesterday, the main market was incredibly green. We've seen some red enter. Pretty much, US consumer confidence plummeted to a 4-year low. The Bank of Japan is also discussing the probability of more rate increases. Looking across the main sectors, all sectors came up a very small amount, 0.16%. Communication services did the best, and the worst, unfortunately, utilities. Tariffs are causing major problems for global economic markets. And Mexico's economy has weakened. When we look at the fear and greed index inside the stock market, we've moved from extreme fear, which is the buying opportunity, into fear at the current time. Undoubtedly, tariffs have caused a major global problem, and the Mexican economy, its activity shrunk for the second month in a row, and some see recession as unavoidable. There's also been some interesting news inside the crypto market. BlackRock has brought a Bitcoin ETP to the European market. And in terms of Solana, BlackRock and Solana are collaborating together. And also, Fidelity has joined the Solana ETF race inside the US, so Solana is looking pretty interesting. There's been a lot of news about Doge as well. And not the Department of Government Efficiency, the Doge crypto. With analysts predicting that it could rise up to $4. Wow, that would be interesting. And some interesting news from the stock market. GME GameStop board approves adding Bitcoin as a Treasury reserve asset. And the SEC, the Securities Exchange Commission, has dropped its investigation into the Aussie crypto firm Immutable. It's no wonder Immutable X is moving. There's been sustained fear inside the crypto market since around the middle of November last year, and a lot of people are throwing up their arms in desperation. But not us. Our global family understands that price moves in waves, and you can make money in any market condition if you can time the market, and we know how to do that. We're currently seeing sustained inflows into the spot Bitcoin ETFs. Unfortunately, when it comes to the Ethereum spot ETF, we're seeing outflows, but those outflows are moderating down at the current time. In the past 24 hours, we saw nearly 176 million in total liquidations, which are just marginally larger on the long side. As price is always moving in a wave, just consider the price goes up and then it comes down, it goes up, it comes down. That's what price does. But we have a fair whack of liquidity setting around the 89,300 area on Bitcoin. To get a sustained increase across the main markets and also Bitcoin. And the thing to note, as the main markets go, Bitcoin goes as well. But Bitcoin is trading 24/7 by 365. The stock market relatively is very lazy. It even has weekends. Not like us, we don't have any weekends in crypto. A lot of people have been caught up into the narrative that Bitcoin is worthless and valueless and all of those kind of things, but it is a really good signal of what the stock market could be doing next. Remember, 24/7 versus yawn, very lazy. Bitcoin is very risk sensitive, so if we see Bitcoin starting to break trend and coming down, we would expect the main markets to follow. Bitcoin and the main markets are highly interconnected. The key for us is to always understand structurally what's going on inside the market. We can see that the S&P 500 raised up at the start of yesterday's session in the US and then sold down. It had a minor recovery into the close, always a good thing. Now, what we really need to understand is the structure that is underpinning the S&P 500. So what do we see here? That rally was from a level of structural overhead resistance. It came up, re-challenged it, resumed up, and then went to the next structural level and said, oh my God, I'm out of here. Where was that level? 57.82. And then it came back to structural support at 57.69. Wavered around there and finally broke above it. This is actually really positive for the stock market and also for crypto. But of course, we need a continuation here. If we get that positive structural attraction back to 57.82 and confirm that as support, we're off to the races. But if we lose 57.69, the next structural level of support is 57.51. This brings us, what are the futures doing? And we can see that Bitcoin and the futures, this is on a 1 hour basis. The S&P 500 futures are improving. There's a slight divergence between here and what you will find. The Russell is a very good signal on what Bitcoin could be doing. Its directional correlation is quite exceptional. Typically, people have been taught to only look at the chart they're putting money into. This is not actually the best way to trade and invest, and we trade to gain momentum and understanding of direction and change of trend. We invest to take advantage of these big dips. Investors should always seek to buy effectively. I mentioned yesterday that as Bitcoin was coming up into this area, we could in all likelihood get a retrace down to lower levels. We saw this retracement and then it plinged up. But the key is to understand, you always have price moving in a wave. Do not be concerned with retracements. They're really normal. And when we look at Bitcoin, what we're seeing here is we are definitely in an uptrend. And we're starting to challenge more senior levels of upwards overhead resistance. This is good stuff. But as always, where could price be going? When we look at the total of the crypto market, by looking at total crypto market cap, what we can see is it's currently 2.82 trillion, but we realistically need to know where the structure is. Structure, CTKS structure, allows us to understand exactly where smart money is buying and selling. Smart money, as the price came up here across the entire crypto market, the smart money sellers were inhabiting these sell levels and pushing price down. If we don't get a confirmation of support, we're going to get negative structural attraction to levels of structure below. This is currently opening up the $2.81 trillion structural support level. Also, don't forget the psychology of price action. A lot of people literally across the globe have seen crypto come down and down and down and down, and then they're seeing a little bit of an uptick. They're not entirely positive that this thing can be sustained. So what do? They take profit, which is realistically a quite intelligent thing to do. Investors tend to buy it at any level because they don't want to be greedy. Greedy has got nothing to do with it. As an investor, you must get onto the right side of the percentage. You should be buying low and selling high. For example, this is a 15-minute chart because I want to take you through what happened in the past 24 hours. But if this was a 1-year chart or a 1-month chart or a 1-week chart, you get the idea. You would want to be buying around here or stacking as it's coming down, not just mindlessly dollar cost averaging in at all times. You want to train yourself to buy on the red. Get comfortable with it. It's not easy to do because psychologically you would say, this thing is going to zero. No, it's going to a structural support level. And when it goes green, it's going to structural resistance levels. So if you know where these levels are, you're ahead of the vast majority of people. Turning to Bitcoin, now a lot of people would say you can only determine where Bitcoin is going by looking at Bitcoin's chart. Sounds very logical and also completely incorrect. All markets and charts are completely intercorrelated and interconnected. For example, what moves Bitcoin and total crypto market cap, or what moves Bitcoin? Bitcoin is highly related to total crypto market cap. We find these structural support and resistance levels play out like a tag team, so that's something you want to be aware of. Also, if the S&P 500, the Nasdaq, the Dow, and the Russell are all sinking towards zero, guess what? Bitcoin and the entire crypto market will be joining them. But if they're rallying like hell, again, they will be joining them. So the question becomes, what the heck just moves row 3 around? The answer, row 1 and row 2. You can get the free cheat sheet from CTKSmethod.org. The main driver at the current time is the VIX. You'll find that the relationships between the DXY, dollar yen, the yields, oil, commodities, and the Forex pairs are all wonky at the current time because the market is dealing with extreme fear. All you need to do is to figure out who's driving the bus of risk on or risk off. That's inside row 1 and row 2. If you understand this, you will understand why these markets move, why the individual stocks move, why crypto moves, and your charts that you put money into. A completely different way of looking at things, but it's a very important way to do so. Intercorrelation and interconnection is one thing, but we must be aware of what is happening from a structural perspective. Structure is literally everything. What we saw in the past trading session was that Bitcoin has come up to this overhead level of structural resistance. As it was coming up, this is resistance. It tried to turn it to support, but failed. Tried again, but failed. Weakening consumer confidence inside the US was not what Bitcoin, crypto, and the stock market was looking for. Everything is intercorrelated and interconnected. So what we've seen here, the sellers are in control at the current time. We would expect a bit of a bounce around this point as short-term traders and investors seek to buy this level of support, which is actually not a level of support at all. But that doesn't stop people buying it. The actual true levels of structural support are 86,830 and 86,665. If we come down here and find that these hold, that will create positive structural attraction back to 87,930. If they fail, we'll look at retesting this lower area of structure around the $86,000 mark. When you get into trading and investing, you'll notice something really interesting. The particular percentages, say the 24-hour percentage, you can see it's different for different charts. Why is it different? Because structure is different across different charts. And the key to remember, not all structure is created equal. You can see how price is moving in a wave, up and down, up and down. This is what price does. So when people say, oh, I need to know if it's going to go up in the next 24 hours, and you need to tell me with 100% certainty, what you will find is the price is just moving between structural support and structural resistance levels. If you looked at this and someone said the price will go up and you were in the market when the price was coming down, it depends what time zone those people are in or what period of time. Is it 24 hours? Is it 12 hours? Where are they making their projection to? I always make the projection to the next 24 hours. Okay, now looking at ADA, we have no understanding as to the real structure of ADA until we pop on the indicator. Now we do understand it, and not all structure is created equal. For example, down here at the 72.14 mark on ADA, we had a lot of underpinning structural support. As we gained and did a cut over, we saw a positive CTKS gap and all of this structural resistance around that 74.02 to 74.28 mark kick in. It did lose it, cut across, and then rallied. Now, why does this occur? Because ADA cannot escape Bitcoin's gravitational pull. Bitcoin and total crypto market cap work together with ADA to determine where ADA is going. And Bitcoin is determined from the row 1, row 2, and especially the row 3 of the cheat sheet. It sounds like a lot until you get used to that way of thinking, and then suddenly you discover It's pretty normal, and you can see things that other people just can't see. You can also see that not all structure is created equal. This 7402 structural support level is very strong, like the 7214. Also, investor attention can be really quite important, but note, when we look at Solana, and this is a favorite of the community, and thank you for just reaching out and letting me know inside the comments. Your comments are really important to me because I can structure these daily videos for you because I know what's important. If I don't know what's important, I can't structure them. I can just give you a basic overview, which of course is very valuable, but knowing what you need to know is also way important to me. Okay, Solana. We can see that Bitcoin was moving in this kind of direction, Total was moving in this kind of direction, and Solana is moving in the same direction. But of course, we must understand where the structure is inside the market. So where is the structure? Well, Solana is currently trading at 143.73. When we look at all the underpinning structure on Solana, from that 138.17 mark to the 139.49, and this positive CTKS gap, this is why Solana moved up very, very quickly. This is on a 15-minute time frame. If you were looking at compressed or extended time frames like this, it would just shoot up like that. But we look at the lower time frames to get granularity on where things are interacting with structure. And you can see all of this overhead structural resistance, which we knew days and days in advance. In fact, we've known it for literally a month. We've seen the 146.62 and the 146.92 act as a huge barrier, and Solana has been coming down. Now, what does this mean? Does it mean because it hit this structure, it can't get above it? Of course not. What it actually means is that Solana has retraced because it had a big move which it is digesting at the current time. If the S&P 500 futures, the Nasdaq, the Dow, and especially the Russell, if they're all moving up, that will create confidence inside the crypto market, inside Bitcoin, total crypto market cap, and of course, your money chart for those people trading Solana. So when we look at this, we can definitely challenge that literally around the 147 level if the stars align. Professional investors and traders do a thing called stacking probabilities, and that's what we need to do. We always need to stack probabilities, and structure, intercorrelation, and interconnection are your keys for stacking probability. Now we can see here, if things turn red, we've got a lot of structural support back at these levels. So we could revisit those if things turn a bit bearish. But if they turn bullish, getting above that 147 level, wow, that's going to look fantastic for Solana. And don't forget, Solana is very much in the news at the current time. Understanding structure, intercorrelation, and interconnection is vitally important. Have a look at Doge. Doge is moving in directional correlation with Bitcoin and Total, which is moving in correlation directionally with the main markets. So what do we see about Doge? It's moving pretty much the same way, but structure is the key. Now, where is the structure inside Doge? We can see it got up to a level. It's probably pretty hard for you to see, but it is there. This is a lighter level of structural overhead resistance. And as Bitcoin and total crypto market cap couldn't overcome their own structural resistance levels, we saw things sell down. But Doge has actually been quite strong. And it does have structural support around this 18,717. If it loses that, 18,009 plays into part. But we know that how the markets actually work in actuality is it's all intercorrelated. So it's all cheat sheet dependent. If we see the Russell coming up in terms of the futures, because the actual Russell has gone to sleep now, so we need to look at the futures. So looking at the futures of row 3 is a very important thing to do. And if the Russell is actually moving up, this means that the VIX is moving down. It means junk bonds are moving up. There's a lot of wobble occurring with these other particular charts, but that will just iron itself out at some stage. For now, we need to understand that looking at row 3 and especially the VIX is really important to what happens inside Bitcoin and total, and of course what happens to your money charts. And don't forget, directional momentum is always based on structure. You must know where the structure is. You've got a lot of different strategies that you can apply to deal with structure. But the first one, where is it? You'll find that over time, structure is an absolute game changer. For example, when we look at gold, and the CTKS method always marks up all of price history according to 2 levels of standard certification. So when we pop on the indicator, there's a lot of work that's actually happening underneath the hood in terms of these lines. One thing that you can see, gold shot up to this 3053 mark and the 3060 mark, or 3060, and it just couldn't get above because there were so many sellers there, and gold has been pushed down. Also, geopolitical tension and concern is a big one. If we start to see tariff fears increasing, we would anticipate gold going up. Remember that a lot of people talk about Bitcoin as digital gold. It is very risk sensitive. So if gold is potentially going up, that could mean negative momentum for Bitcoin. Now, if it's negative momentum for Bitcoin, that means it's sniffing out inside the main markets that there could be negative momentum for the major indices. When you start to think of the intercorrelation and interconnection between all the charts, what you will find over time is that economic policies can change how these cheat sheet rows interact with the other cheat sheet rows. Remember, the focus of the cheat sheet is to help you to understand timing. Where could things be going? What's moving? When are things retracing? When are things going up? And if you would like the indicators to every single cheat sheet component, for example, ADA, Solana, Doge, XRP, Bitcoin, all of these, they are available through the service. But if you would like the cheat sheet absolutely free of charge, just go to CTKSmethod.org and then just scroll down and you will find the digital download right here, so you can just grab that. Have a great day or night ahead, my friends, and Kate and I look forward to catching up with you again in the next video. Bye for now.